Welcome to the Professionals of the Inland Empire show with your host, John Tulac.
Welcome to the second episode of Professionals of the Inland Empire, affectionately known as PI. I'm John Tulac, an international business attorney located in Claremont. I'll be interviewing some of the top professionals in a variety of fields in the Inland Empire over the course of this podcast series. We'll be talking about what makes these professionals do what they do and how they do it that makes them outstanding. We'll also show how these very talented local professionals can help you and your business grow and thrive. And in doing so, contribute to the economic health and well-being, growth and development of the Inland Empire. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, a rising tide raises all boats. So settle in, sit down, relax, and help yourself to a nice slice of pie for the next half hour. My guests today are two people I know and respect highly. They are colleagues that I have worked with myself. I'd like to welcome to the show Kathleen McEntee of Kathleen McEntee and Associates. She is a marketing guru, and Lisa Anderson of LMA Consultants. She is a supply chain management guru, which is a really tough thing to be in these days. So ladies, welcome to PI. Glad to have you with us today.
Thank you, John.
So Lisa, I want to kick off with you because supply chain management is an intricate subject. So tell us what that is and what you do.
Well, supply chain is in essence from starting with your customer and what the needs are, what types of products they want, and then it's goes through the manufacturing processes to your supplier, from basically from cradle to grave. Dig it up out of the ground if it's some kind of a mineral, to producing a computer chip at the end, or any other related metaphor for the different product groups.
And everything in between that gets it from wherever it originates to where it ultimately ends up in a final product, right?
Exactly.
All right. And there's a lot of software that goes into supply chain management today as well. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link in your supply chain. So each of these links could be a supplier, manufacturer, distributor, your distribution centers, one of a series of customers, could be a software supplier, could be transportation partner. So there's a lot of links in your supply chain, and you're really only as strong as your weakest link.
And so how is it today doing your job in such a boring time in the world as we have going on right now?
Well, there's definitely a lot going on, which is great for me. So, we help clients navigate through this type of uncertainty and find ways to be profitable and serve customers successfully. So, it's whether in volatile times or high growth times, or even when you have to cut back, although that's never as pleasant. You need to make sure that your end-to-end supply chain is prepared for success.
Okay. So, Kathy, I'm going to turn to you next to describe what you do and how you do it. I think people think they know what a marketing person is and all that, but I don't think they really understand just how intricate some of what you do is. So tell us about it.
Thanks, John. Well, everybody's an expert but the experts sometimes, right? And everybody thinks they know what the expert does until you really get into it. And things have evolved over the 20 years I've been in marketing. I like to tell people that we help organizations articulate who they are, what they do, how they do it, most importantly, what distinguishes them from the competition. But even then, people kind of don't get that. But it's all about communicating to whoever your prospects or customers are, keeping your product or your service top of mind. So when they have a need, you're there and they remember who you are. And people take information in differently. Some people are on the internet all day long and they're looking at LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram and X. And other people get daily feeds. And depending upon the company or the audience, some of them may look at ads. So you have to know your audience and where they look for the type of information about your company and make sure you're there so that they can see you and you're top of mind.
So communication is communication, and good words are always better than, not so good choices of words, right? But the tools of communicating today are so much more varied than in the past. And isn't that one of the issues that affects business people, is simply knowing what's out there and what makes the most sense for them and their particular needs?
Well, you bring up a good point, John. When I started 20 years ago, it was now I came out of big pharma from sales, but when I started in marketing 20 years ago, it was me and my computer. And today, there are so many tools that organizations can use to really make them efficient in the way they communicate. Because to your point, yeah, communication's communication, but marketing has taken a much more pivotal role because not only do you have to communicate to your prospects and your customers, what your vendors think about you and how they work with you. That requires communication. It's your employees, how you're communicating your brand to them because they're basically your brand ambassadors. And there's a lot of tools to do that with. We use a lot of those tools. But what a lot of people forget about is, yes, there's software where you can send out newsletters, right? There is software where you can tee up social media posts. Yes, there's software for, God forbid, do yourself images. But you still have to learn the software. You still have to figure out how to best make it efficient for you and make you look professional. Sometimes you're better off letting the pros do that than doing it yourself.
That I completely understand. And of course, when I started as a lawyer, my method of communicating in writing was me and my legal secretary's typewriter. You were talking about starting with a personal computer. At least it wasn't Morse code. So I guess I'm good in that respect. But the whole idea of marketing to a lawyer back when I was first in practice was non-existent. Legal advertising was still
Right?
forbidden. And marketing, I think a lot of the basic concepts have stayed the same. But again, the delivery methods have changed substantially, and everybody's clamoring for a bit of your attention. So I think you said one time a few years ago that you have to repeat a message 7 times before somebody starts to pay attention to it. And then you said more recently it's more like 21 times. I
Yeah.
mean, is this like exponential,
Well,
need to
yeah.
communicate?
Oh, yeah, but think about it. You are bombarded. Think about when you get up in the morning, right? You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth. There's an ad on the toothpaste, right? There's an ad on the mouthwash. You go to shower and you're bombarded with the labels on your shampoo. You are bombarded with brands and advertising from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed. So now, and think about if you are not working from home and you're driving to the office, you're seeing billboards. Now they're flashing billboards, right? There used to be stationary billboards. Now there's flashing billboards. You're on the radio, you're bombarded with ads. So, the statistics, you're right. Statistics used to be that people have to see your message 7 times to go from the back of the mind to the top of the mind. Now it's over 21 times. You have to bombard them with your message for it to stick because they're getting bombarded with so much.
So the takeaway I'm getting from this is it's just not good enough to be good at what you do. And certainly if you're looking for business and nobody knows how good you are and where to find you, that's not good messaging. So let me go back to you, Lisa, about that. One thing that you've done really, really well, and I know you've had help, but we'll talk about that in a minute, but you've really put a brand on what you do as the strongest link in the supply chain, right? As the one who
Right.
can come in and diagnose and solve supply chain problems and then keep people out of trouble. So how do you get that message out?
Well, I think in today's environment, as Kathy was saying, there's so many messages out there. You have to be seen as a thought leader. So you have to be on the edge of what's not what's happened, but what's going to happen, and what clients and companies should be thinking about so that they can stay ahead of changing circumstances, and they can be, making sure that they not only just survive, achieve customer service that their customers are looking for, but they can do so in a way that like gains them business, gains them market share, and increases their profitability. You brought up systems and automation earlier, so there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle, because in today's world, you really have to be on the technological edge. You have to be on the talent edge because you're only as good as your talent. And you have to be, continually improving your processes and actually doing some radical change, especially in today's supply chain with the way supply chains are being reconfigured and the tariffs. And you have to be ahead of all these changing conditions. So to your point, John, you have to be a thought leader and get your word out through all sorts of marketing channels that Kathy was talking about. And you have to make sure that it's something that's different and interesting, and that you're willing to take a stand and say something that's controversial, if that's what you believe.
And neither one of us is a stranger to that. Of course, we talk about what's going on in the world constantly. Lisa has to keep up in what's going on in the world to do her job well, as do I as an international business attorney. And we can get going and talking for hours on a topic. So yeah, being a thought leader, I think, is important. And again, it becomes a messaging thing. It's like, how do you get those thoughts out to everybody else so that they pay attention to you, so that they read what you've written, or listen to what you've recorded. And I know that in that regard, you've been really, really active. So you got some help with that, right? You got some help from Kathy in terms of how to get all that stuff out there, right?
True, absolutely.
So tell me about the collaboration, Kathy, how you've supported Lisa in her marketing efforts by putting together strategies that work.
Lisa is unique in that Lisa is interested in getting the word out properly. And so she hit the nail on the head. We really try to position our clients as thought leaders in their business. Lisa does a great job of creating her own content. She sees issues in the world and how they affect supply chain, and she can write about it because she's knowledgeable. What we then do is we package that for the different channels. So, for example, if she puts out a newsletter that has 2 or 3 articles in it, we'll take each of those articles, we'll package those articles, and those will go on social media. They'll go on her website. We may make a recommendation to her to do a video. In fact, her Supply Chain Bites series comes out each week with some component of what she's been talking about. Because here's the thing about marketing. You have to have your message out there, but you have to repeat your message over and over and over. Those 21 times, they have to hear that same message, almost so that they could repeat it back to you. But you don't want to be boring. You don't want to turn them off in the meantime. So you have to do it with little different flares and flavors. And that's where we come in taking the message that is pretty much the same message, but repackaging it, repurposing it, put it in a little different flair or color, or put a little different spin on it and put it out there so that Lisa remains top of mind.
And Lisa creates great content, and she certainly creates a lot of it. I don't know when she ever has time to sleep, because I see a lot of what she produces, and it's great stuff. And we like to see that widely disseminated because it makes people think. And that's the whole idea of content creation, right? You want people to think, and then you want them to think about you in terms of what you're writing about. It's like, this is the person to turn to. Marketing in a nutshell, 101. I got it down after all years as being a lawyer.
You're getting there.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Getting there. You're
So,
good.
so the collaborative part is what intrigues me. You've known each other for a long time. You've worked together now for quite a long time. So you gain that use of function, the ease of understanding one another, what you're trying to do. So how does one get there in this kind of a collaborative arrangement? Is it trial and error until something clicks, or is it more a part of strategic planning?
Well, Lisa and I first met through provisors. Lisa's the group leader for the Ontario group. And when I was in a position where I could devote the time to provisors, provisors suggested that I guest in Ontario. And, we could say, and the rest is history, but it takes a while to get to know people, to get to know people and see what they're made of, and if you click. Because the worst thing, and we all know that, is to have a client where you're just not in sync. So, over the course of time, we got to know each other, and we've worked collaboratively through provisors. She's the group leader in Ontario. I support her. I do the troikas for the group. For a while there, I was doing marketing minutes. I'm the group leader for the women's group in the Inland Empire. As a result of my association with Lisa and participation in improvisers, and she has been part of my EC. She's helped me there. And then there are things that go on, between the groups and at provisors where, we'll connect with each other and talk. And then, of course, that led to us working together on her marketing for LMA. And my firm supports her. Once she's got the content going, we can run with that. And so whether we're issuing a press release like we did last week, whether we're polishing up videos, whether we're collaborating on yet another, we just uh, initiated a framework where we're kind of like more crystallizing her services. We collaborate on that because I understand enough about her business to be able to talk about it and understand how to package it. I may not be able to actually do the consulting part of it, but I'm able to talk about it enough so that I can package it and kind of take it down from up here to down where to what I'll call the layman's level so that people will understand it and want to know what's more. And then Lisa also is the president of the local chapter of the Association of Supply Chain Management. So when hand in hand, she called me and said, "Hey, we need help here." And in that case, she kind of sets the strategy for the chapter, tells me what she's thinking about. And because I already know her business and I understand what supply chain does, I'm able to run with the execution of some of the things that go on in the chapter. So we collaborate there. And all three of those kind of feed off of each other.
I can see how that works. Certainly, I go back, good grief, to 2012 with Lisa. First met Lisa in, I think it was the third organizational meeting of the first provisors group out here in the Inland Empire, and I have to say, just to explain to our audience, Provisors is the premier professional networking group in the country. Invitation only membership, and we're looking for seasoned professionals, people with experience, good track record, great reputation for not only doing great work, but having the highest standards of ethics and reliability. And our motto is know, like, trust, refer. We get to know one another, like one another, and trust one another so that we feel very confident in referring business to one another. And what I found after the first year was that I wanted to stay in the group because I loved being surrounded by smart, interesting people who are not all lawyers. And my clients have come to love the fact that I'm in Provisors. I'm also a group leader of a group that's out here because I can find them any expert, any need that they have. I'm going to know somebody that can fit that need. And we have lots of professionals like that in the Inland Empire. So back to you, Lisa. The idea that having that kind of support that is someone who really does know who you are, what you do, and how you do it, and can provide that support, that's got to be really helpful to you, particularly since, it's not direct inside the office overhead. It's work that you can outsource in such a way to be comfortable that that's going to get done.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's in consulting, you're really yeah, you're as good as the people you surround yourself with. So marketing is a key area, and you brought up provisors. So like you said, it's great to be able to refer to clients all types of different trusted advisors based upon their needs, but also the same is true for my business. So if you need a specialty or a specialist somewhere, you don't want to hire a full-time person, certainly not in consulting, because you're, it's depending on the needs change based on the clients. And there's certain constant ones like marketing so you can gain clients. But nevertheless, it's great to have strong resources that you can rely upon. So I completely agree.
So let's talk about the third C of what you had from the very beginning, very first meeting, the idea of commerce, collaboration, and community. Commerce, of course, the referring a business to one another, collaboration of members actually working together. And I'm pretty proud to say that on one particular project that I had for my one client, we had 8 different provisors members working on that particular project at one time. But the third C was community. And so talk to me about the idea of a group of professionals acting as a community, not only for each other's benefit, but the benefit of their clients as a whole and the greater economic area, the Inland Empire. How does that work?
Well, I think it's you have, in essence, most of the trusted advisors are going to be a partner in their firm, or they're going to be one-stop shop, or they're going to be, a small boutique firm. And so they may work for a large company, but generally speaking, they're going to be somebody who is directly interacting with customers and bringing on new business. And so we get to know our clients' needs, and having extensions that we can surround ourselves with. So no matter the client's need, we can find an expert that can help them. And no matter our need, we can find an expert to help us with it. And, the community part of this equation is valuable as well, because everyone goes through, I don't know, challenges, rough times, we have issues that come up, and we all don't, nobody knows how to deal with every single problem that arises. So it's great to have a community that we can rely upon to go to run ideas by, to collaborate with, to resolve issues, and those types of things. And so by being a part of a group like Provisors, and it's really much more B2B focused, and it's higher quality, it's focused on the high quality trusted advisors. And we obviously get to know each other quite well, so we can surround ourselves with strong teams.
Super. As we're running down toward the end of our time together, Kathy, how would you describe our community?
I think you put it very succinctly when you said trust. The good thing about being part of our community is that we are a community, right? So we know each other. We can pick up the phone. So do you remember a couple of years ago, John, I was having problems with an attorney for a client who wasn't responding, and I'm not well versed on attorney talk. I mean, I know what attorneys do. I know what they're supposed to do. I understand all that. But how to talk to an attorney who wasn't necessarily responding the way they needed to, was problematic for a client. So I was able to pick up the phone and call you and get some insight from you as to how to handle the situation. It's that kind of community where you can pick up the phone, you can talk to someone, they could give you their insights, whether you have a problem or whether you have an opportunity, is huge. And it's because we trust each other and we know each other well because we see each other on a regular basis. Not too long ago, I ran into somebody who I hadn't seen in probably 3 or 4 years, improvisers, just because we just hadn't come across each other, and you pick up where you left off. That's what's really good, because the community part of it is once you're connected, you're almost like family.
And my sense of community is twofold. One is I really do appreciate my fellow provisors members for exactly the reasons that both of you have described. But the other part of community here is that we're all part of this geographic region. And we're all playing a part in helping our clients develop and thrive and grow. And by extension, that means that the geographic community, what we call the IE, grows as well. And in upcoming episodes of Professionals of the Inland Empire, we're going to be returning to both of those themes of how professionals can work well for you, the business person, and for us as a community of people within a geographic area. That's it for today. I'm John Tulac. I'm your host. I thank both of my really great guests today, Kathy McEntee and Lisa Anderson. Thanks for being with me. And next week, we'll have another episode of Professionals of the Inland Empire. So long for now.
Thanks for watching or listening to, depending on the case, the Professionals of the Inland Empire show with your host, John W. Tulac. If you have a suggestion for a guest, email him at jwtulac, that's JWTULAC, @gmail.com. jwtulac @gmail.com.